Hello, America's Next Top Podcaster and podcaster viewers and podcaster ex contestants like myself. This week's theme was mixing and editing, or I guess mostly editing, but yeah, I got to do that one time. Thinking on that topic, I thought it would be interesting to cover a cocktail that just about everyone's heard of and everyone makes differently, much like mixing and editing. Everyone's got their own technique and their own way of doing it. So that cocktail is the old fashioned. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to do what I know is the original recipe or the oldest documented recipe of the old fashioned, and then what you could generally expect to see when you go into a bar and just say, hey, I'd like an old fashioned. So the oldest documented old fashioned is from Colonel James E. Pepper and the Pepper Distillery in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I got to visit there a couple of years ago and sit at their little bar in their tasting room, and they made me what they say is their original old fashioned. And it's a little different and a lot the same. So what they did is they had a sugar cube, which unfortunately I don't have. So I'm just going to put about a teaspoon of sugar, which is close to equivalent, depending on where you get your sugar cubes, anywhere from 3 grams to 5 grams. 4 grams is a teaspoon. So pretty close. So I'm going to put a little bit of that in there. I'm going to do 3 dashes of bitters because that's what I like. Some people will do 2. I think 3 is great. And then they actually use a little splash of water to mix it. I'm just going to put a little dab of simple syrup. So I'm already changing the recipe from what's the original. But yeah, that's kind of, like I said, how this recipe has grown and evolved. So everyone changes. And I've actually had people come up to me making it and going, well, that's not the right way to make it. If you make a good cocktail, that's the ballpark for this cocktail. You can't really go all that wrong. It's just there's just so many ways to do it. So I've got our bitters, our sugar, a little bit of simple syrup. They muddled up the cube when they were making this in front of me. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it like kind of like a little muddly stir. Break up those granules, kind of have them dissolve a little bit. And then we're going to put a high rye bourbon in there, which is the original Colonel Pepper bourbon actually had a high rye content. So to be bourbon has to be 51% corn. But everything else that's in the mash can be whatever the distiller wants. So this was quite a spicy on the spicy side of a bourbon, spicy dry side. All right, so I'm going to make a little bit of noise. I'm going to put some ice in there to chill it and mix it. A little bit more. Going to give it a nice stir. Shout out to my buddy Ty, who we actually made these glasses together. Buddha Cowboy. Ty's Buddha Cowboy. Anyway, giving it a nice stir. We're going to pour it into a fresh glass. They used a large chunk of ice at the distillery, so I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to get one of my globes, which again, they probably wouldn't have had whiskey globes back in the 1800s. I don't know. Can I get it out? This happens every time I use these on the show. There we go. Better put that in our glass. Strain our mixed cocktail in. And the last thing, and the thing that I noted that was the most different, is that for the garnish, they used neither an orange nor a cherry. They actually used a lemon peel, which I thought that was probably the biggest difference. But since this is a high rye bourbon that we're using in there, lemon is going to go really well with it. So it's a logical choice. That makes sense. So I'm going to express it. You'll see, if you look really closely, you can see some of the oils going over the top. Give a little kiss around the rim. Make whatever jokes you want. And there we have a little Colonel Pepper's original recipe, old fashioned. And that's one of those things, the nose really gets you with the lemon. That's quite nice. So your classic old fashioned, and I say classic, your common denominator old fashioned. I usually make right into a glass. That's what I do for that. Pardon me, whiskey globe. Boop. Take a rocks glass, figure out the bar to order it. First thing I do, throw my orange in there, grab a cherry. Boop. Oh no, grab a cherry, bam, have some infused cherries. Give them a very quick muddle. And when I say quick muddle, I basically just press. I don't pulverize, I don't break up the flesh at all. I get some juices out. That's really what I want. I don't want a cloudy, chunky cocktail, especially with a whiskey cocktail. That just sounds really unappetizing. So I give it a quick press in the bottom, fill with ice, like so. Get my bitters. And this is actually, this order and the order of operations is really important, just like in mixing and editing. So weird. But the order of operations is important. So I've got my fruit in the bottom, I have my ice. I'm going to put my Angostura bitters on top. I also like to use 3 dashes on this one. Doing it in this order is actually, I read this from an Angostura cocktail book from the 1920s. So these guys, it's a little washed out. Sorry, because of the light and a white label. But I have an old cocktail book from them that I got. Of course I would. Why wouldn't I? And they say to do it this way because the bitters goes over the ice and kind of distributes more evenly before you even stir the cocktail, which you would want. We're going to use just under, like about a quarter ounce, just under a half ounce of simple syrup. There we go. And then our regular bourbon. I like to use like a very wheaty bourbon when I make my old fashions for myself, or for someone that says, oh, I don't know what kind of whiskey, just whatever you would use. Yeah, I like a fairly wheated, basically a smoother, sweeter bourbon. That is my go-to. Bam, 2 ounces. I use 2 ounces in each. Sometimes I'll do a little extra splash like that, just to top it off, make someone feel special, make me feel special. Here we go. And then I stir that in the glass. So many places I see don't stir their old fashions when they're making them. It's really weird. I don't get it. Obviously, you've just put ingredients in a glass, especially if you're not transferring. Give it a little stir in the glass. Just, I don't think I've ever had anyone not like that. Stirred up their cocktail for them so that it was properly mixed when they take a sip. They don't want those 2 little strizzle straws or give it a tiny stir. Did they do it right? No. That's the way to do it. So there we go. Your standard, average, old fashioned. Much sweeter. Like, especially having these side by side. Like, that's a happy hour, easy drinking cocktail. The original, smooth and delicious, but drier, heavier citrus note just because of the lemon. You can get spice on the nose, but still a wonderful cocktail. But this feels like someone that's had a harder day than I normally do. This is the kind of cocktail they would drink. So there you have it. 2 different ways to do the same thing. I hope you're having a great week. Hope you're enjoying working on the show. If you're still on the show, I hope you're enjoying yourselves not working on the show if you're not on the show anymore, or if you never were and you're just watching it. Awesome. That's great. It's awesome. It's fun to be part of this competition, even if I'm not in the running anymore. And it's fun to see some of my teammates on Team One Last Drink still in the competition. That's pretty cool. I'm happy for them. I'm happy for everyone. It's been cool to meet everyone, and fun to be making drinks for people. I hope you're drinking with me. So cheers, everyone. Have a great week. Be good to each other. I'll see you soon.